Hey, what is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Hard to believe that we're already through February pretty much. And yeah, March is already around the corner. I'm going to get into it in the top two mistakes myself and other cop dads I have served over the years when it comes to losing body fat, or what some of my students will call dropping the dad bod without extreme dieting or running. If you're excited to learn about that, just drop the word mistakes in the comments. Maybe even chime in hello, where you're from. Again, I always like interacting with you guys. So what inspired me to do this, I've been messaging a lot of people over the last month wanting to dive deep into some free trains and resources. And one of them was like the best workouts I can do to burn fat and increase my stamina without running a single mile. And I know sometimes that can be like cheesy, or maybe it could be what's the catch and that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to share with you like how that is possible. And in a way, I think what hits people is like learning the mistakes, because I've made them myself. I've coached over 125 cops and other first responders since opening Blue Line Fitness, and I've just seen some of these mistakes time and time again. So if your goal is to lose over 30 pounds by Memorial Day, and you hate running and you hate doing like carnivore or keto or doing a super restrictive diet, this video is for you. So mistake, and I'm going to ask you to participate. I know cops, hate being told what to do, but I like interacting with my audience. So if you would be open to just like, if I ask you to prompt something in the comments, one, it may jog your memory later and remember it. And secondly, then like more people can like see this valuable video and it can help them. So the first mistake that people often make is that they want to train like a bodybuilder, but they don't want to eat like one. So put in the comments like exercise like a bodybuilder, but don't want to eat like one. So like for my background, I mean, when I was like 18 years old, I hit up bodybuilding.com, like who still like does like workouts like off bodybuilding.com. And I did a lot of bodybuilding splits. So I grew up doing like arm day, chest day, leg day, hitting like 1, 2, 3 times per week, hitting muscle groups like that. So like I would build this like muscle mass, because I think when we all, especially like the guys, you're gonna look at a person on the internet or on Instagram, someone who looks jacked, they have a lot of muscle and a lot of body fat, and they're like, I want to look like that, so I need to start training like one, right? So like for me, I started building up all this muscle underneath, but I didn't want to eat like one. So how many of you maybe like resonate with me, where like I was like a Monday through Fridayer, where like I'm watching what my eating is, I'm working out hard, but then on the weekend, this is when I was like single, before I was eating like copping a lot, like I would just drink a lot, I eat like shit, and it feels like I had to start over on Monday. So like, again, going back to that physique that you kind of look at, like big muscle and low body fat. Well, bodybuilders, they achieve this by lifting the weights so that they can build the muscle. But then to the physique that we're looking at, like that jacked, that shredded look, it's from fat loss. And they achieve that fat loss through their eating. Bodybuilders are really good where like they will track their calories and they will track their macros, and they make sure they hit those numbers on a consistent basis, not like me, like just Monday through Friday, or what I know like for some of my students. So like where we can miss the mark is that I know as a cop dad, or the main ones I talk to, they're like, well, I don't. It's like I hear a lot like, I don't want like that. I don't need to be super jacked. I don't need to have like bulging muscle, but they still want to be cut. They still want to look shredded. Well, if we're then like not consistent with our eating, We all know, like, for fat loss, you have to be in a calorie deficit. It doesn't matter like what workouts that you do. You just need to be in a consistent calorie deficit to lose body fat. We should all know that. Well, if we're inconsistent with our eating, and we're inconsistent with like being in that calorie deficit with our eating, then what happens is that like we're doing bodybuilding regimens where while it builds up the muscle, it's not the most efficient way to lose body fat. If the bodybuilders are losing body fat from their eating, but we don't want to be that regimented. We find it tedious to always track and weigh everything. And there are different strategies. I mean, there's like students in my Cop Transformation Academy, we do that tactical KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And there's other ways you can measure portion sizes and that stuff, but it's not as precise. And even if we're not doing that, and if you're not doing that at the very least of tracking portions, if you're just assessing, you're just guessing. So then you're not going to be consistent. You're probably not going to be in a fat loss, calorie deficit, and then you're going to be like, some days you're hitting your macros or calories, and some days you're not, or hitting your portions, and some days you're not. And then you're going to go through like a full month, and you might have lost only like say 1 or 2 pounds, or your body fat, you don't look differently in the next month, and you wonder why. So if we're not going to then eat like a bodybuilder, and we need to get in the calorie deficit, then we should maybe do a more efficient way of working out that's not bodybuilding. So again, the first mistake is that then you train like a bodybuilder, or at least I was, and that's where like I'd build some muscle mass, I would get stronger, but I don't have that physique, that shredded, that jacked look, because I'm not losing the body fat because my eating was inconsistent. So if I'm not going to be super regimented because I want this healthier lifestyle to be a part of my life, not run my life and have it feel like a chore, weighing everything, measuring everything, meal prepping the same chicken, rice, and broccoli every single day, then what do I need to do? Well, then we need to have more efficient workouts. So inside my academy, a lot of my students, I introduce them to kettlebell workouts. And right there, then as soon as I had that introduction, and you'll hear from my story, where lies the second mistake. When it comes to dads who want to lose the body fat, but they want to increase their stamina without running a single mile. And that is that they aren't open to learning a new skill like kettlebells, because you attach yourself to an identity like, hey, like I lift like a bodybuilder. Now, take from my story again, like I started my journey, like really serious lifting, again, bodybuilding.com workouts in 2010. And I did that for like 8 years. In 2018, I worked at like a local gym. Think of like functional fitness. Think of like CrossFit, but like not the ego. And my owner, was a big kettlebell person. And again, like my experience with kettlebells was like, maybe if you guys have this kind of similar experience, put it in the comments. Like I did it at the academy, where you kind of pick up kettlebells, and I might do like a presses, or I might do squats, things of that nature. Like no one really taught me how to use them. So from me identifying like, well, for 8 years I lifted barbells and dumbbells and machines, and I'm like this bro lifter. I'm like, okay, like my boss like trained me enough on the kettlebell so then I could coach the other clients that came to our gym. But I didn't really buy into kettlebells for 2 years because I just identified as a like bro lifter. Now 2 years later, it was like the fall of 2020. My boss like encouraged me, like, hey, I think this, like with your niche of helping cops and first responders, I think kettlebells will really help. So I think that you should go get a kettlebell certification. So here I am, that I trained for 6 months on kettlebells between like October of 2020 through like February 2021. And all I did was like kettlebells. got my kettlebell certification. And during that time, so because I live in Minnesota, it's cold as fuck outside, I didn't do any running. Zero times I went out running. That March, I'm in the Army National Guard, and my training NCO was like, hey, I'm going to send you to Army Master Fitness Trainer School. Have you been working out? And I'm like, yeah, of course I've been working out. You know me. All right, well, you're going to be going in 4 weeks. So be ready. And I thought to myself, like, crap. I haven't ran in 6 months. And actually now it's March, so it's like 7 months. And I was in the Army, like you do, like a lot of running. So I'm like, shit. So I should probably go out for a 2-mile run. So I have this 2-mile route mapped out, and I run. Y'all know, like, if you've done running, like, and especially if you haven't ran for a while, you expect you're going to hit this wall, like, early. You're going to be sucking wind and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of knew for me, I'm like, that's about between, like, a quarter mile and a half a mile. I'm like, oh, I'm just waiting for it. But it never came. I'm like, oh. So I just kind of, like, accelerated. And then when I crossed the 2-mile finish line, I was 10 seconds behind, like, one of my, pretty much like my not necessarily my PR, but like when I last ran. I was like usually running about like 13:10 for a 2-mile, 13 minutes 10 seconds for a 2-mile. I was on like at 13:20. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I haven't ran in 7 months, and I was like, just 10 seconds. How is that possible? Well, kettlebells. And then when I like wrote up like my kettlebell fat burner program that a lot of my students do now in the academy. I was like 180 pounds. I'm like, well, before I give this to my students, I'm going to try this out. I write as a 16-week program, 4 months. And 1 month in, I dropped 10 pounds. And mind you, like, I was like 180 pounds. I dropped to 170. I didn't think that I had 10 pounds to lose. So I had to, I finished the 16 weeks, but I had to like really increase my food intake because my metabolism was just going like crazy. Now, none of that would have been possible if I kept attaching my identity to like, well, I'm a bro lifter. And if there's anything that you can also like take from this video, like I always like with the Cop Transformation Academy, I want to fit the program around my students, not to have them fit into a program. However, I just know from my training and experience, like, hey, I encourage them to like give kettlebells a shot. And I know for those who want to do some of the traditional lifting, which I do for them, like if they're a day, hey, you're going to do like squats and pull-ups, and then you can do some accessory work in the circuit, like doing push-ups, shoulder presses, deadlifts, whatever. A lot of them will get and again, like this is, I get to where like we can lose body fat, we can lose weight from our nutrition. I'm just talking from a general standpoint, from an exercise perspective. Those people, they felt like hey, I got stronger, but I didn't lose the weight that I want. And then those who actually embodied the kettlebells, and I've had no one come into my program like knowing exactly how to do kettlebells. A couple of them had some experience, as I described, like, hey, like I did a couple workouts with them, but they weren't formally taught. And those who were coachable and open-minded, the weight now comes off like butter. Adam lost 30 pounds in his first 3 months. I've had David, 37 pounds in 4 months. I've had Dave, didn't really have that much weight to lose, but he lost like between 22% and went down to 8% body fat in 4 months, lost 16 pounds. And they all embodied, hey, like this kettlebell thing, it's new to me. Some of them like were kind of disgruntled, like I'm not getting the swing. This Turkish get up, what the fuck is this? But they were patient enough. They did it. So those are the 2 mistakes. Now, if you watch this like full video, I want to reward you. Now, I do have kettlebell training videos for free inside this group. I can tag you in them if you're a person that's like, I haven't done kettlebells and I just need to learn it. Because when I'm competent in it, I feel confident. If I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. Well, this is your opportunity. So comment kettlebell if you would like to learn more about the kettlebells. Now, if you want, and you got the free training videos, and you can learn how to do them. Now, if you're a person that's like, hey, like, I know not how to do them, but like, what do I do for sets, reps? Maybe I'm not accountable enough to myself. Then comment or DM me Academy, and we can talk to see if we'd be a good fit for the Cop Transformation Academy. Just because you messaged me the word Academy doesn't mean I'm going to go into a sales pitch. It is an interview process, an application process, just to see if we're even a good fit. I'm going to ask you some basic questions through Messenger, and then if I feel like, hey, I have a good idea on your goals and your problems, and if I could maybe offer a solution, we're going to hop on a discovery call and just see if or how I could help you. So if you're interested in that, just comment or DM me Academy. If you're motivated to lose 30 pounds by Memorial Day, you don't want to do any of this restrictive diet shit, you don't want to do any running, and you just need a little more structure, you need a little more accountability or support in your life. So put in the comments maybe your biggest takeaways. I'm here for you all. I'm here to support you. I'd like to know what's been most helpful. Take care.